Guitar tips, guitar tips, just the tips, just for you. Guitar tips. Hello and welcome to Guitar Tips. My name is Adam Levy and this is my weekly video blog series. This week I'm answering a question that one of my students asked me recently. And it's kind of a simple question, and it's kind of also the big question on guitar, I think. So I wanted to share it with you and talk about how I answered my student and also how I think about this question even more broadly and more deeply. So we're working on, I don't know, we're working on scales or something or other, and my student said, "Hey, can I ask you, how do you look at the fretboard when you look at all this? What do you see? How do you navigate the fretboard?" And I'm going to just talk about that in this tip. Really, for me, it comes down to three important kind of breakthroughs, and also three phases of practicing that I went through when I was trying to figure this stuff out. I'm still figuring it out, but how I got to here, that's what I wanted to explain in this tip. The first thing was a system that I learned when I was at music school. I went to a school in Los Angeles in the 80s called the Dick Grove School of Music. It's not there anymore. Dick passed away years ago and the school shut down. I think there are still some courses online. I'm not sure, to be honest. But while I was there was a guitar teacher there named Peter Butterfield. And his way of mapping out the fretboard, and I have talked about this in an earlier tip, but as you'll see as we go on, this tip will get more in depth. So the first thing was just learning the notes, learning the notes, where the notes are. And Peter taught us to do it one string at a time. We'd get a metronome going, and we'd go around the circle of fourths, the chromatic circle of fourths: C, F, B flat, E flat, and so on. So let's say you're going to do that on your low E string. So you'd find C, and if you're new to this, you could do 4 clicks on each note, and you'd go C, then F, then B flat, then E flat, hopefully, then A flat, and so on. And you do this for a while, maybe a few times around the cycle. You could then either speed up the metronome, that I'm at 70 beats per minute here, or you could just do fewer clicks. You could do 3 clicks at 70, and then 2 clicks, and then 1 click. And you would do that on each string. And that was, we did that for a couple weeks. I was 17, I didn't really know. I knew bar chords and some pentatonic scales, but there was lots and lots of gaps. And that was the first thing that got me filling in the gaps and starting to see, oh, there's notes everywhere. There's not just an island here and an island here and an island here. There's everywhere. And then from there we moved to triads, which you would have to do the first thing, the single note exercise, for a while before the triads would make any sense. So then once you knew where, say, all the C notes are on the neck, you would learn where all of the triads are in the different inversions on the different string sets. Now, if you're not sure what string sets are, in the context of what I'm about to show you, since we're talking about triads, string sets are going to be any 3 adjacent strings. So string set 1 would be strings 1, 2, 3. String set 2 would be strings 2, 3, 4. String set 3 would be strings 3, 4, 5. And string set 4 would be strings 4, 5, 6. For example, this is a kind of a C triad, second inversion C triad on string set 4. The C is in the middle, G is on the bottom, E is on top. Now, if you're not sure what inversions are, just a quick explanation of that. Let's say we're playing, this is a C triad in root position on the same string set. So that's C, E, G. Textbook C major triad, root on the bottom, then the third, then the fifth. The first inversion of that would put the third on the bottom. It would be up here. So the orientation stays kind of similar. The E and the G stay kind of where they are, but we have to move them over a string set. And then the C that was on the bottom is going to move up to the top. So that's going to be here now. So C, E, G, first inversion would be E, G, C. And then the second inversion, we follow the same process. G and C are going to stay where they are, at least stay where they are in pitch, in sound, in vibration, but they're going to have to move up here, and then the E will be on top. It was down here on the bottom, now it's going to be on top. And we have G, C, E. You could also play an octave down, an octave lower down here. So root position, C triad, first inversion, C triad, second inversion, C triad. Those are all C major triads, okay? So you can see on each string set there's going to be 3 different shapes, maybe 4 if you want to go up high and down low and really get some coverage. But at the bare minimum, there's, for every kind of triad, C major, that's in the key of C and is a major triad, there will be 3 shapes on each string set, so that's 12 shapes. So starting down low, second inversion, root position, first inversion, next string set would be root position, first inversion, second inversion. This string set, this is a first inversion, second inversion, root position, and then second inversion, root position, first inversion. And you could keep you could keep going. And then, yeah. Okay. So again, you could do that with a metronome, and one way to do it would just be to go up and down on one string set doing, I'm going to change keys just to give our ears something else to listen to. So this is B flat. So you can go B flat, 2, 3, 4, B flat, B flat, come back down, B flat. And I say it out loud, not just for the benefit of this video, but you really should say it out loud as you practice it. It helps tap into, it burns it more into memory. Then it's not just finger memory, you're engaging more of your mind. So you could do that in all keys. There's 12 keys. There's different qualities of triads. There's major, there's minor, there's diminished, and there's augmented. Those are the 4 elemental triad types. There's other kinds of 3-note grips that we can play that aren't considered triads per se, but those are the ones that we need to know. And you would do those on all the string sets and all the keys, and then once you got that together, and I think earlier in this video I said there's going to be kind of 3 phases of my development, and this is all one phase. I'll get to the other 2 phases eventually here. But then the next thing would be to do them, you can practice them as they occur in scales. So if we're in the key of B flat, the diatonic triads would be B flat, C minor, D minor, E flat, F major, G minor, A diminished, and B flat. So you could practice those in a series. You could practice voice leading them. So instead of just going in the same inversion, you could cycle through the different inversions and voice lead closely. So I'll do it again with the metronome. So I'm going to go around. This is Diatonic Cycle of fourths in voice leading. Let me explain that before I start playing it. I don't think I explained it yet. So first I showed you these are just the diatonic triads in sequence, in alphabetical order, you could say. Then there's what we call the diatonic circle of fourths: B flat, E flat, A, D, quality-wise, B flat, E flat, A diminished, D minor, G minor, C minor, F, and B flat. You could do those with voice leading, so you'd have B flat, E flat, A diminished, D minor, G minor, C minor, F, B flat. And I'm back at B flat, but I'm in a different inversion, so I could keep going. B flat, E flat, A diminished, D minor, G minor, C minor, F, and B flat. Again, I'm back at B flat, but I'm in a different inversion than where we started. So you've got to go around the cycle 3 times to actually complete it. So B flat, E flat, A diminished, D minor, G minor, C minor, F, and B flat. Now I'm an octave up from where we started, but we're back in the root position. So you could do that kind of exercise. That's the diatonic cycle of fourths. 1 string set, voice led, meaning you're grabbing the closest available triad, which when we're playing triads is generally going to be moving up the neck. When you get into 4-part chords, things with sevenths on them, the voice leading tends to push you down the neck. So like B flat major 7, E minor 7, flat 5, A minor, excuse me, that's not correct. B flat major 7, E flat major 7, A minor 7, flat 5, D minor 7, G minor 7, C minor 7, and so on. So 7th chords tend to move down the neck when you're voice leading, and triads tend to move up the neck. It has to do with the mathematics of voice leading. I'll talk about that in another tip. Right now, just kind of plant that as a seed. Okay, so that's phase 1. That's really how I got to know, basically that's how I got to map out the fretboard, how I got to understand the kind of logic of things. Now, we haven't talked about scales. We haven't talked about, full voiced chords. There's a lot that's missing from this way of looking at the neck. But I found it, at the time I learned it, to be a very complete system. And I still, to answer the initial impetus for this tip, when my student asked me, what do you see when you look at the fretboard? That's really, honestly, how I see it still, 30 something years later. If I'm thinking about jamming over a C minor 7, this is a C minor 7. If the band is grouping on C minor 7, my fretboard, whether I look at it or just look at it in my mind's eye, all these little C minor triads light up. I don't really see scales lighting up or arpeggios. It's really just these little triad shapes. And you might wonder, well, how is that valuable? If I'm going to take a solo, I'm not going to take a triad solo. That's not how people usually play. True enough. Well, two things. One is we're not always soloing. Sometimes we're just comping. And when you're comping, it's great to know a variety of triads because that gives you a way of using the whole range of the guitar. If there's a lot of stuff going on in the low frequencies, if the bass player's really active, the drummer's doing a lot of stuff, with kick drum and toms, maybe you want to get up into the higher registers. But, if you're backing up a violinist or trumpet player or flute player and they're up in this register as they're soloing, you might want to play some lower down stuff. So it's great to know triads for comping, but as far as soloing, I look at all these little triad things as kind of islands. So when I'm soloing over C minor, yeah, sure, of course, I'm aware that there's the pentatonic scale and the Dorian scale and lots of other things you could do over minor if you're going to think scalar. But I tend to just think of these little triad shapes, and maybe I'll just improvise over C minor for a little bit here. So what I'm doing is I'm thinking of these as the chord tones, and anything nearby it could be some kind of neighbor tone, an upper neighbor, a lower neighbor, a diatonic neighbor, a chromatic neighbor. I'm not even thinking too specifically about any kind of rules. Just if I know that this is where I have to land, I'm going to just kind of bob and weave and dance around it. 2, 3. And I'm not going to leave that string set for the moment. I want to see how much I can get out of just that little bit. Don't get bored with it. I mean, if you're bored with my playing, that's fine. But when you're doing this exercise on your own, don't get bored with it. Stay with it. Find stuff. It's there. Great players know the whole fretboard, but they don't necessarily have to use it in every solo or in every phrase or in every chorus. Stay where you are, find the stuff that's there, really dig deep, okay? So that is phase 1. That's phase 1. So that's this week's guitar tip. I hope you find it super helpful in navigating the fretboard and in making music. If you want to dig deeper and discover 2 more ways that you can look at the fretboard and that I use every time I pick up the guitar, you will want to go to Guitar Tips Pro. There's a link down below. You can click on that and discover more. And you'll see what I call the connective tissue, all of the stuff that's between the triads that really makes the fretboard come alive. So go there, check it out, dig deep.